Welcome to Reddit Secret Tales, where real-life nightmares come alive. Ever met someone so charming you ignored the warning bells in your gut? Imagine this. A young woman chasing thrills in Miami's electric streets crosses paths with a stranger who seems perfect too perfect. One night of fun spirals into a chilling ordeal. Drugged, snatched, and trapped in a billionaire's mansion, she faces horrors that test her will to survive. How did she claw her way out? And what dark secrets followed her home? This story will grip you, shake you, and make you question who you can trust. Stay tuned because you won't believe what happens next. Let's get started. I was young, barely 25, chasing freedom on a solo trip through Miami, Florida. The city buzzed with life, its neon lights and ocean breeze pulling me in. I'd been traveling for weeks, hopping from one coastal town to another, craving adventure. Miami was my last stop, and I wanted to soak it all in. One night, I wandered into a vibrant night market in South Beach. The air thick with the scent of grilled food and the hum of live music. Stalls overflowed with colorful trinkets, and locals mingled with tourists. That's where I met him. His name was James, or so he said. He approached me near a jewelry stall, his smile disarming, his eyes a piercing blue. Tall, with a sharp jawline and a casual button-up, he looked like he belonged in a magazine. "First time in Miami?" he asked, his voice smooth, almost too perfect. I nodded, clutching my bag a little tighter. He said he was a local, born and raised in Florida, just out enjoying the night. His charm was effortless and I felt my guard slip. James pointed out a food stall, insisting I try the best tacos in the city. We laughed over spicy salsa and swapped travel stories. He claimed he worked in real estate, nothing fancy, just helping people find homes. His words flowed easily, and I found myself relaxing, drawn to his confidence. When he suggested dinner at a nearby restaurant, I hesitated. I didn't know him, but his laugh, warm and inviting, made me feel safe. "Come on, Emily," he teased, using my name like we were old friends. "Live a little." I said yes. Dinner was a blur of candlelight and wine at a chic spot overlooking the ocean. James was magnetic, asking about my life, my dreams, my family back in Ohio. He said he grew up not far from there, in a small town near Cleveland, and we bonded over Midwestern winters. I felt seen, special. After dinner, he suggested a club, one of Miami's hottest, he claimed. My instincts tugged at me to call it a night, but the energy of the city and James's easy grin pushed me forward. The club was electric, all pulsing lights and thumping bass. We danced, laughed, and for a moment I forgot I was alone in a strange city. James handed me a bottle of water, insisting I stay hydrated. "You're too fun to let crash early," he said, winking. I took a sip, then another. The room started to spin, my limbs growing heavy. His face blurred, his smile twisting into something I couldn't read. Panic clawed at my chest, but my body wouldn't move. I tried to speak, to ask what was happening, but my voice was gone. The music faded, replaced by a dull roar in my ears. James's arm wrapped around me, guiding me toward the exit. "Let's get you home," he murmured, his voice distant, cold. I wanted to scream, to run, but darkness swallowed me whole. The last thing I felt was the cool leather of a car seat, and then nothing. My head throbbed, a dull ache that pulsed behind my eyes. I blinked, expecting the neon glow of Miami streets, but darkness greeted me. The air was stale, heavy with the scent of damp concrete. My body felt sluggish, like I'd been dragged through mud. I was lying on a thin mattress, the kind that creaks with every move. My hands fumbled, searching for something, anything to ground me. Cold walls, rough under my fingertips, closed in around me. No windows, no light, just a faint hum from a single bulb dangling above. I was in a basement, or at least that's what it felt like. Panic surged, sharp and suffocating. I scrambled to my feet, my sneakers scraping against the floor. "Hello." My voice cracked, echoing off the walls. No answer. I screamed louder, pounding my fists against the concrete, the sting radiating up my arms. "Somebody please." My throat burned, but the silence mocked me. My bag, my phone, my wallet gone. All I had were the clothes from last night, now wrinkled and clinging to my skin. I sank to the floor, hugging my knees, trying to piece it together. James, the water. His smile so warm then so wrong. My stomach twisted. I'd been drugged, hadn't I? The thought made my skin crawl. I replayed every word, every glance, searching for a clue I'd missed. How could I have been so stupid? Tears stung my eyes, but I wiped them away. Crying wouldn't help. I had to think, to find a way out. Hours passed, or maybe minutes. Time was a blur in that suffocating room. My eyes adjusted to the dim light, revealing nothing but bare walls and a rusted metal door. I tried the handle, yanking until my palms ached. Locked. I paced, my footsteps the only sound, each one fueling my dread. What did they want? Was James coming back? The questions gnawed at me, relentless. A sharp click broke the silence. The door creaked open and I froze. A man stepped in, tall and gaunt, his face half-shadowed. Not James. His eyes were cold, scanning me like I was livestock. He carried a tray rice, a slice of meat, a plastic cup of water. My stomach growled, but I didn't move. "Where am I?" I asked, my voice trembling. He set the tray down, ignoring me, then turned to leave. "Please tell me what's happening." I lunged forward, but the door slammed shut, the lock clicking into place. I stared at the food, my hunger warring with fear. Was it safe? I didn't know when I'd eat again, so I forced down a few bites, the rice tasteless, the meat tough. The water I left untouched, too scared to trust it. I curled up on the mattress, my mind racing. I had to stay sharp, stay alive. Then more footsteps. The door opened again and 3 men entered, their faces blurred in the dim light. They circled me, silent, their eyes raking over my body. One stepped closer, his breath sour, and grabbed my chin, forcing my mouth open. Another shone a flashlight in my eyes, blinding me. I tried to pull away, but my limbs felt heavy, useless. They muttered to each other in low voices, words I couldn't catch, Spanish maybe, or something else. Their hands moved over me, clinical, invasive, checking every inch like I was a product on a shelf. My heart pounded, but I couldn't fight back. I was too scared, too small. When they finally left, I collapsed, my body shaking, the weight of their gazes lingering like a bruise. The darkness became my world. That bare, windowless room swallowed time, blurring day into night. I lost track of hours, maybe days, clinging to the faint rhythm of my own breathing. The single bulb above flickered, casting shadows that danced like ghosts on the concrete walls. My body ached from the thin mattress, my skin clammy from the damp air. I felt like a caged animal, pacing the same 5 steps, my sneakers worn thin from the endless loop. Every sound a distant creak. A muffled thud sent my heart racing, expecting the door to swing open. I tried to hold on to memories of home, of Ohio's open fields, my mom's laugh, my dog curled up by the fireplace. But they slipped through my fingers, drowned out by the silence. My mind turned against me, replaying that night with James. His easy smile, his lies about Cleveland, the water that tasted too sweet. I hated myself for trusting him, for ignoring the tug in my gut that screamed to walk away. Stupid Emily, I whispered, my voice hoarse. So damn stupid. The solitude was torture. No books, no light, nothing to distract me from the gnawing fear. I started talking to myself just to hear a voice. You're okay. You'll get out. But the words felt hollow. I scratched faint marks on the wall with a pebble, trying to track time, but gave up when I realized it didn't matter. Hunger came and went, my body too stressed to care. When the gaunt man brought food, always rice, sometimes a scrap of chicken, I ate just enough to survive, eyeing the water with suspicion. One night, or what I thought was night, the silence broke. I heard voices outside the door, low and urgent. I pressed my ear against the cold metal, straining to catch words, but they were garbled, foreign. My pulse spiked. Were they talking about me? Planning something worse? I backed away, curling into a ball, my nails digging into my palms. The voices faded, but the dread stayed, heavy as the air. I started seeing things. Shadows moved in the corners, taking the shape of faces. James, the men who'd inspected me, even my dad who died years ago. I'd blink and they'd vanish, leaving me gasping. Get it together, I muttered, rubbing my eyes. But the hallucinations grew worse. Once I swore I saw a figure standing by the door, watching me. I screamed, scrambling back, only to realize it was nothing. My mind was cracking and I couldn't stop it. Sleep was no escape. Nightmares clawed at me, James laughing as I sank into darkness, hands grabbing me, pulling me into a void. I'd wake up sobbing, my shirt soaked with sweat, the bulb's dim glow mocking my terror. I stopped trusting my senses, questioning every sound, every flicker of light. Was I losing it? Would I die here, forgotten in this concrete tomb? One day, the gaunt man came again, but something was different. He didn't bring food, just a glass of water, his eyes avoiding mine. Drink, he said, his voice flat, the only word he'd ever spoken to me. I stared at the glass, my throat dry as sandpaper. Was it drugged like before? I hesitated, but thirst won. I took a sip, then another, my hands trembling. He watched me, unblinking, then left without a word. Minutes passed, or maybe hours. My vision blurred, my limbs growing heavy. I tried to stand to fight it, but my body betrayed me. I collapsed onto the mattress, my thoughts spiraling. Not again, I begged silently. Please, not again. The room spun, the bulb's light stretching into a sickly halo. My last thought was of home, of my mom's voice calling my name. Then darkness claimed me and I was gone. I woke to softness, a stark contrast to the cold mattress of the basement. Silk sheets cradled my body, their smoothness almost mocking. My eyes fluttered open, taking in a room that screamed wealth. High ceilings loomed above, adorned with a crystal chandelier that sparkled in the morning light. Classic paintings lined the walls, stern faces staring down at me. A massive fireplace sat dormant, its marble gleaming. I was in a mansion somewhere far from Miami's neon pulse, maybe the outskirts, where the rich hid their secrets. I bolted upright, my heart hammering. The door was mahogany, heavy, with a brass handle that looked more decorative than functional. I stumbled out of bed, my legs shaky, and tried it. Locked, of course. My clothes were gone, replaced by a plain gray dress, stiff and unfamiliar. Panic clawed at my throat. Where was I? What did they want? I scanned the room for an escape, windows, vents, anything, but the single window was barred, the glass frosted. I was trapped again. Footsteps approached, steady and deliberate. I backed away, my breath hitching as the door swung open. A man stood there, older, maybe in his 50s, with slicked back hair and a tailored suit that screamed money. His eyes, dark and calculating, locked onto mine. Good morning, Emily, he said, his voice smooth with a faint accent I couldn't place. Welcome to my home. I froze. How did he know my name? Who are you? I demanded, my voice sharper than I felt. He smiled, the kind of smile that didn't reach his eyes. You can call me Mr. Carter. I've acquired you. You'll work for me as a maid. It's a simple life and you'll be well cared for. His words hit like a punch. Acquired. Like I was property. My stomach churned, but I swallowed my fear. You can't keep me here, I said, though my voice wavered. He just chuckled, turning to leave. You'll see. That day, I met the others, 4 women, all young, all eerily serene. They moved through the mansion like ghosts, their steps silent, their smiles practiced. There was Lily with her vacant stare. Sarah, who hummed softly as she polished silver. And 2 others, Claire and Ava, who barely spoke. They cleaned, cooked, and served with mechanical precision, as if they'd forgotten how to feel. I watched them, searching for a crack in their facade, but their eyes were empty, their loyalty to Mr. Carter absolute. Were they brainwashed? Or just broken? My role was clear, clean, cook, obey. The mansion was massive, all marble floors and gold-trimmed furniture, but it felt like a prison. I scrubbed floors, dusted shelves, and served meals, my every move watched. Mr. Carter was always there, lingering in doorways, his gaze heavy. The other girls never questioned him, never flinched. I tried talking to them, whispering in the kitchen or the maid's quarters, but they shut me down. He's good to us, Sarah said once, her voice flat. You'll understand. I didn't. I wouldn't. Days bled into weeks. I learned the mansion's rhythm, the clink of dishes at dawn, the hum of a vacuum in the afternoon, Mr. Carter's footsteps at night. I played along, mimicking the others' blank expressions, but inside I was screaming. I memorized every room, every lock, every window. The bars were solid, the doors reinforced. Escape seemed impossible, but I clung to the idea. A flicker of hope in the dark. Mr. Carter started singling me out. He'd call me to his study, a room of leather-bound books and dark wood, to serve his coffee or tidy his desk. His eyes followed me, too close, too long. You're different, Emily, he said once, his voice low. Smarter than the others. I forced a smile, my skin crawling. Was he testing me? I couldn't tell. The other girls noticed, their whispers sharp with jealousy. Lily glared when I passed, Ava muttering behind my back. I didn't care. I had to stay sharp, stay alive. One night he summoned me to the library, a cavernous room lined with books I wasn't allowed to touch. Dust the shelves, he ordered, sitting by the fire, a glass of whiskey in hand. I worked in silence, feeling his gaze. Halfway through he stood, pulling a book from the shelf. Ever read this? He asked, holding out a worn copy of Jane Eyre. I shook my head, wary. Maids weren't allowed books, music, anything that fed the mind. Take it, he said, his tone soft but commanding. Read it. I hesitated, then took it, my hands trembling. It felt like a trap, but I couldn't refuse. As I left, book clutched to my chest, I realized something. He was watching me closer now, trusting me more. That trust could be my way out. I just had to play his game, bide my time, and find a crack in this gilded cage. Time in the mansion warped, each day a mirror of the last. I'd been Mr. Carter's maid for nearly a year, my life reduced to polished silver and spotless floors. But beneath the surface I was plotting. Every smile I forced, every yes sir, was a step toward freedom. Mr. Carter's trust in me grew. His favoritism. One evening while dusting his desk, I noticed a drawer slightly ajar. My heart skipped. I glanced at the door, listening for footsteps. Silence. I eased the drawer open, my fingers trembling. Inside, buried under papers, was an old flip phone, its screen scratched but glowing faintly. No passcode. I stared, my pulse roaring in my ears. Was this a test? Mr. Carter was cunning, always watching. But the phone felt real, heavy with possibility. I snapped it shut, sliding it back exactly as I'd found it, and finished cleaning, my mind racing. For days I checked the drawer, ensuring the phone stayed their second drawer, left side under a stack of invoices. It was always there, untouched. I memorized Mr. Carter's schedule. Mornings in his office, afternoons in the garden, evenings in the library. The study was mine for brief windows, moments when the house was quiet. On the fifth day I couldn't wait anymore. I slipped into the study, my hands slick with sweat, and grabbed the phone. I flipped it open, praying for a signal. One bar flickering like a dying star. I moved around the room, holding the phone aloft, searching for a stronger connection. Nothing. Desperation clawed at me. I climbed onto the desk, balancing on my toes, and there 2 bars steady. My hand shook as I scrolled through contacts, all unfamiliar names, likely Mr. Carter's associates. I didn't care. I dialed a number I knew by heart, my best friend Rachel back in Ohio. The phone rang, each tone an eternity. My eyes darted to the door, expecting Mr. Carter to burst in. Hello. Rachel's voice, faint but real, hit me like a lifeline. I nearly sobbed. Rachel, it's Emily. I whispered, my voice cracking. I'm in trouble. I need help. I spilled everything the night with James, the basement, the mansion, Mr. Carter. I didn't know where I was exactly, just that it was a sprawling estate outside Miami, owned by a man with too much power. Please tell the police, I begged. Track this call if you can. Rachel was frantic, asking questions I couldn't answer. I'll call the cops, Emily. Hold on. The signal wavered and I panicked. Don't call this phone back, I hissed. It's not safe. Footsteps echoed down the hall, heavy and close. My blood ran cold. I hung up, shoved the phone back in the drawer and grabbed a duster, my hand shaking so hard I nearly dropped it. The door creaked open. Mr. Carter stood there, his eyes narrowing. Everything all right? He asked, his voice smooth but edged. I forced a smile, my heart hammering. Just finishing up, sir. He studied me, his gaze piercing, then nodded and left. I exhaled, my knees weak. Had he seen? I couldn't tell. From then on I was paranoid. His smiles felt sharper, his glances longer. The other maids, already resentful, whispered louder. Lily caught me leaving the study once, her eyes cold. Careful, she muttered. He doesn't like sneaky girls. I kept up the act, cleaning, serving, bowing my head. But every chance I got I checked the phone, sending quick texts to Rachel when the signal allowed. Still here. Big house, gated, near Miami. I hid the phone each time, my nerves fraying. Mr. Carter watched me closer now, calling me to his side for trivial tasks, pour his wine, fold his napkins. His trust was a double-edged sword, giving me access but tightening the noose. Weeks dragged on, each day a tightrope walk. I barely slept, jumping at every creak, every shadow. The phone's battery was low, the signal unreliable. I didn't know if Rachel had reached the police, if anyone was coming. But I clung to hope, the only thing keeping me sane. I had to believe someone was out there looking for me. I had to believe I'd get out. The waiting was agony, each day stretching into a lifetime. I moved through the mansion like a ghost, polishing silver, setting tables, my every step mechanical. Mr. Carter's eyes followed me, sharp and unyielding, as if he sensed something off. I kept my face blank, my hands steady, but inside I was unraveling. The phone in the study stayed my secret, its battery now a faint sliver. I hadn't dared touch it in days, terrified he'd catch me. Hope was all I had, fragile and flickering, tied to a call I wasn't sure had reached anyone. Then one morning everything changed. I was scrubbing the kitchen floor when a low wail pierced the air, sirens, distant but growing louder. My heart leapt. I rushed to a window, peering through the bars. Flashing lights danced at the mansion's gated entrance, red and blue against the dawn. Men in uniform swarmed the grounds, their voices sharp, authoritative. My knees buckled. Was this it? Were they here for me? The house erupted into chaos. Lily and Sarah froze, their eyes wide. Mr. Carter stormed through the hall, his face twisted with fury. Stay put, he barked at us, his voice cracking. I backed against the wall, my pulse racing. Footsteps thundered closer, and the front door burst open. Men in tactical gear flooded in, shouting orders. FBI. Hands up. I saw embassy officials, their badges gleaming, trailing behind. Mr. Carter argued, his arms flailing, his voice loud but desperate. This is my home. Their employees paid fairly. His lies made my blood boil, but I stayed silent, my eyes locked on a young agent approaching me. He was calm, his voice low. Emily Parker? I nodded, tears stinging my eyes. You're safe now. Come with me. My legs shook as he guided me past Mr. Carter, whose glare burned into me, a mix of betrayal and rage. I didn't look back. They escorted me to a black SUV, the siren still wailing. The other maids stood frozen, their faces unreadable. I wanted to scream at them to run, to break free, but the agent urged me forward. We sped to Miami International Airport, the city blurring past. On the plane I stared out the window, the ocean below a reminder of how close I'd come to vanishing. Mr. Carter's face haunted me. His delusion that he'd done nothing wrong. When we landed in Ohio, more agents met me, their voices gentle. They took me to a safe house, a quiet place to rest, to talk when I was ready. Walking through the airport, I felt the weight of freedom but also guilt. What about Lily, Sarah, the others? Were they still trapped, serving him, believing his lies? I pushed the thought down, focusing on the air, crisp and familiar. Reuniting with my family was like waking from a nightmare. My mom's arms around me, my brother's tearful laugh, it was surreal. I kept my story from the press, dodging reporters wanting only peace. Each day felt like a gift, but the scars remained. I'd survived, but part of me was still in that mansion, waiting for the door to unlock.